Good evening. The opinions and statements voiced by our guests do not necessarily reflect the opinions of this network. Enjoy the shows.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army. Army officers say the missile, found sometime last week, has been inspected at Roswell, New Mexico, and sent to Wright Field, Ohio, for further inspection.
Now, historic films made in the spring of 1948 and just released show Eniwetok preparing for heavily guarded and still largely secret tests of new atomic weapons. The test's purpose is to measure atomic effects on thousands of different materials, 30,000 tons of them, not, as at Bikini, to prove military effectiveness.
San Francisco police say that 9 persons have been arrested in a narcotics raid on the headquarters of the Grateful Dead, a widely popular singing group. 2 members of the group, Rod McKernan and Robert Weir, and their business manager, Danny Rifkin, have been booked on suspicion of possessing narcotics.
3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff. 32 minutes past the hour. Liftoff on Apollo 11. Tower cleared.
Here we got a roll program. Neil Armstrong reporting the roll and pitch program, which puts Apollo 11 on a proper heading.
I'm going to step off the limb now. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Well, strange lights are causing a viral buzz on YouTube. Could we have caught extraterrestrial activity on a recent newscast? Brandon Arroyo investigates.
As the newscast ended, the controversy began back on September 26th. What is that light shining in the back of the dark night sky?
With coverage reaching all the way back to 1948, for over 70 years, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Now, Fate Magazine Radio is carrying on that tradition of setting the standard in paranormal talk radio as we report and discuss some of the most mysterious and perplexing phenomena imaginable in this strange world of ours. Now, here is your host of Fate Magazine Radio, Kat Hobson.
Good evening. Welcome to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. You're listening to Fate Mag Radio, the online voice of Fate Magazine, and I am your host, Kat Hobson. I am very pleased about tonight's show because, you know, it is Halloween. And I had so many things to ponder to get this show organized. And I pondered and I pondered and I puzzled and I puzzled and I thought, oh, come on. You're best friends with one of the best monsters in the business. What are you waiting on? Call the man. Just call the man. So I called the man. And lo and behold, my dear friend, Rick McCallum, said, well, yeah, I'll come on Halloween. And ta-da. So he is here. Hi, Rick.
Hello.
I am so glad you are here with me.
Well, same for me.
Thank you. And so we are going to be getting our spooky on. And, you know, we do not very often tell of scary experiences that we have had. Because I don't like feeling like I'm vulnerable when I'm investigating, although I'm talking to people I can't see in environments that I'm unfamiliar with, and sometimes they have attitude. Why would that make me nervous, right, Rick?
They do have attitude, some of them. There ain't no doubt about that.
But we both have done this for a long time, and some of us longer than others. So I'm very excited to get to share these things. And, you know, you have some experiences that I haven't heard yet. I'm sure, somewhere.
Oh, there's a few, and some are never going to get let out into public. I'll tell you, they were that freaky. But yeah, there's been a lot of really strange things happen in my life, and I've told you most of them because we talk a lot. But boy, I hear these people say, "Well, nothing ever happens to me," and say, "Well, I've been doing this for 54 years." You know, it's not like something happens every time I go out, but it happens a lot. So I do have some stories.
Well, you do. And
matter of fact, I have two tonight that if you want, I will tell you that I have never shared these with anybody.
Really?
Yeah.
That's excellent. Even me?
Even you.
Wow. That's saying something. And I would love that.
I think I might have shared one with you, but the other one, I don't think so.
Well, we have a question.
Let her rip.
Do Scottish ghosts wear kilts?
You know what? That's a very good question. I've never seen anyone wearing a kilt, but I will say something about Scotland and Ireland and England for people that are really into ghost hunting. First off, every place you go there is haunted because Scotland and England especially had the most bloody wars you've ever seen. I mean, where they could actually smell what the guy had for lunch. I mean, it was hand to hand, clubs, sticks, knives. I mean, this was full on battle face to face. So that everything is haunted in Scotland. And when you go ghost hunting here and when you go ghost hunting there, the intensity over there because of all the years that they've had. I mean, we've been here 30 years. They've been there thousands. And many of the buildings are still 1,000 years old over in Scotland. And they're so much more intense than here. You know, we'll get some good stuff here, but over there, it pretty much just smacks you in the head. So that's one of the reasons I go there for a month every year, except for the last two, dang it.
Yeah, thank you, COVID.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I am curious because I know what happened to you at Limp Castle. And, you know, that to me, because I wasn't even there, and just hearing you share it, and then later hearing Scottish Paranormal guys share it with me, you know, I didn't get it reading it. I didn't get the intensity reading it. But to hear it was so astounding.
Well, would you like me to share that with your audience?
I would like you to share that with the audience because that's one of the most extreme experiences that I've ever heard anyone have.
Yeah, actually, me too. I mean, it actually started at the Hellfire Club in Dublin. And I had been invited there by Scottish Paranormal because one of my relatives had actually been a member of the Hellfire Club, a man named John Wilkes. And when we got over there, it's like a mile. You have to climb up a hill. And that was right after I hurt my knee. Everybody was so good. I had like people behind me and on each side of me. You know, I felt like maybe I was a king or something and I was being taken somewhere. But anyway,
or being taken for execution. It could have been either way.
Yeah, I wasn't sure I was ever coming back, but it was a good view once I got up there. But once I got up there, you know, we were all ghost hunting through there, and it has a real weird feeling, especially the woods are right around it. And I couldn't help it. I just kept looking off into the woods. I could feel something out there. I mean, that was not very nice. But as we were going through the day, Ryan, I believe it was Ryan and Allie, I think, both felt like they're getting headache behind their right eye. And then it went away.
At Hellfire?
There's one away. And as we're going through there, something else happened at the Hellfire Club, which was really cool. They were using the Frank's box, which for anybody that doesn't really know ghost hunting that well, Thomas Edison invented this, and he called it the telephone to the dead. And it's like a spirit box on steroids. I mean, it's really something to get to play with if you possibly can do it. Two people, Eileen and John, were standing there talking to the box, and nothing was happening. So I went up, I said, do you mind if I asked it a couple of questions? And they said, no, go ahead. So I said, my name is Rick. I came here from the United States of America, and I came to talk to my relative, John Wilkes. And then it said, like, asparagus, something that makes no sense.
Something totally relevant.
Yeah. And then it went, relative? Like, and with a question in its voice. And the two of them, their eyes pop open. I said, yeah, relative. And I said, I just came over here to say hi, right? And it said something else, and it goes, hi, Rick. Right now they're like, what the hell is going on? Right?
No doubt.
So I said, all right, I think I'm actually talking to John Wilkes. I said, this will tell me if you're my relative or not, because I would have done this. I said, did you really dress a baboon up like Satan and turn it loose into the party and scare the hell out of everybody? And it says a few more words, and then it goes, baboon. And I mean, the two people were there. They were just astounded. Everybody was astounded. I looked at them. I said, wow, that's going to be a good piece of tape to play. And they went, well, we weren't recording. We're like, right. But in my book, Eileen tells her version of what happened, and she says the same thing. But as we left there, we were going to Lep Castle in Ireland. Well, Dublin, obviously we're in Ireland anyway. But we had about an hour ride. And as we were going there, I started getting a pain behind my right eye, so, just like the other two guys. And when we finally got to Lep Castle, it was like 11 at night, and we weren't supposed to be able to go until 12 because they were having a party. So we parked out on the road out in front, and we're in the middle of nowhere, just nowhere. And nobody coming, just hedges and, just the street. And we're standing out there because it had been like an hour. We all got out, and the other guys went somewhere to find a bush, shall we say. And I'm standing back there, and they said, come on, get in the car. And I said, no, it's windy and cold. I said, this is, I'm from Chicago. This feels really cool. I'm going to stay out here for a while. So I'm out there, and it's so hard to explain all of this, but all of a sudden, the way I described it at the time was, it felt like a spear hit me in the eye and went out the back of my head, and I could feel it go. And I grabbed my eye, and water just started gushing everywhere. And I'm just holding it, and my knees buckled because it almost knocked me out. And I started staggering back across the street. And I looked down, and I don't know if your people watching knows this, but I've done stunts for 40 years. I know how to fall down. So I figured, you're getting close to blacking out. Go down now, right? Avoid the rush, fall down while you still can. And just as I started to do that, I heard a voice say, if you hit the ground, you'll never get up. So being the smart guy I am, I threw it into reverse. Just a voice in my head. It just said, if you fall down, you'll never get up. Right. So I thought maybe it was my subconscious or nothing, but it was actually a voice. So I can't say it was my subconscious, because my subconscious never talks to me. Right. So anyway, I managed to get upright, and I went back, and I was holding on to the car. And then Allie from Scottish Paranormal just happened to look out and saw me. And he comes running out. He'd actually seen me staggering backwards across the street. And he comes out, and he gets me behind the car because he's afraid somebody's going to run me over, except we didn't see any cars the whole time we were there. And he got me a bottle of water, and I was drinking that. And I was telling him what happened. He says, well, get in the car. I said, no, I'm real woozy. Let me stay out in the wind and the cold. Maybe that'll help. Right. Well, he gets back in the car, and I'm out there. I'm not exactly sure what happened next, but what it shows in my book, what Allie said he saw, is nobody saw me in the rearview mirror or anything. So they looked out, and I was hanging by one hand off the car, and he got out, and he said I was like, as white as you could be. And he could tell that I wasn't breathing because I was going,
oh my word.
So he comes over, and he gets me upright, and they actually get me into the car, and I'm sitting in the car. And by now we can go up to go into the castle. So we go pulling up to the front, and something really weird happened. When we pulled up, Gregor looks over and he goes, "Who's that just walked by?" And everybody looks and says, "There's nobody over there." So they just saw a guy walk by in front of the car. And it's all gravel out in front of this place. And they said, "Come on inside." I said, "Guys, just let me sit in the car and relax for a little bit so I can regroup." And that's when the crap really hit the fan. I mean, not that the earlier part wasn't bad enough, but I'm leaning back and I'm on the left side of the car because we're in the UK. I'm not, the driver's on that side. And they get out and they go into the building, and I'm sitting back there like this, and I'm just trying to relax. And all of a sudden, my vision started going side to side like this. Man. And I'm like, "Oh, well, this isn't good," right? So I'm trying to focus. And then if anybody out there remembers the old movies, when they always came to the end, they had the iris where the black ball would go and vanish. Yep. My vision started doing that. And as it was doing that, if you've ever been on an airplane and you flush the toilet, I mean, it's like a nuclear toilet. It was like whoosh.
Yes.
Right? While my vision was going like this, and I'm thinking, boy, this isn't good. This is not good at all. All of a sudden I fell from here all the way down, all my energy go, whoosh, and I just fell back into the seat, and I was just sitting there, and I was like, this is it, right? I mean, there was no doubt in my mind I was dying. And later on, I found out there was no doubt in the mind of the guys inside, because they
were absolutely convinced, because I've spoken with them all.
Yeah, they said they were asking how long it would take to get an ambulance out, and they said, "Well, they said Rick's dying." So I'm just sitting there, and I don't know why, but I guess it's just my weird makeup. I just said, because I was positive I was going to die, and it's really weird when it gets like that. You know it. You're not scared. You'd think you'd be fighting and terrified and everything else. I wasn't scared at all. And I just went like this. I said, "You know what? I've got to do a lot of stuff other people never get to do, and I've got to go almost everywhere I wanted to go. Today's my day. I'm okay with it." Right? And I just kind of leaned back. And about 2 minutes later, I feel my energy coming back. Right? So I'm still sitting there, and I open up my eyes, and my vision's still wobbly, but it's getting better. Right? So finally, boom, I'm better. Right? Not perfect, but I feel like I've come out the other end, right? So they come out and they get me, and I go inside and I sit in a chair for about half an hour. I said, "Guys, let's ghost hunt. I feel fine." So we went off. But here's the kicker to the whole thing. About 3 weeks later, and I can't remember which one of the guys it was, called me on Facebook and said, "You're not going to believe what I learned." I said, "What would you learn?" He goes, "Back at the Hellfire Club, 2 guys had a duel, and one got shot through the right eye and died." Now, what I figured out from this was, I think that spirit was trying to attach to somebody.
Yes.
And I think, like I said, I think it was Ryan and Allie, and they both got the pain behind the eye, right? But then it went away. I think it was testing. No, not that guy, not this guy. And then I won. Yay.
Lucky you.
Whoopee.
Well, I have to tell you something that is very strange, given the story that you were just sharing. In the course of that story, an effect started playing. I didn't start it, because I don't even have my effects up, because I don't use them during the show. And you got a round of applause.
Yes.
In the course of your story. And I was just like, because I'm hearing it, right? Because I've got, the playback for everything in my ears. And the people in chat heard it.
Well, I couldn't hear it when it was going, but that's pretty cool.
It's just weird. So, just so you know, I did not do that.
Well, like I said, I didn't hear it. But just
you will if you hear the replay. It's in the replay, because I would have to take out part of your speech.
Well, what's really funny is a lot of things happen when you and I talk.
A lot of things do happen.
I mean, how many times have I heard somebody, talking inside your house when you're by yourself? I mean, it's like half a dozen times at least. But just to finish off the story, I figured out that this spirit was trying to connect with somebody so it could show what happened to it.
Yes.
And I think I was more open to things, because I try and open myself up so they come to me, which in all cases is not the best option. Right?
Probably wasn't in that one.
Not in that one at all. But anyway, after he told me about the gunshot and all that, I figured out what had happened is it was trying to attach to somebody, and it finally picked me. And I think the only reason that I didn't finally go toes up is because of what I said. And when
because
I said,
of your attitude,
my day, I said, if today's my day, I'm okay. And I think the spirit went, oh, no, that's not what I want. I just want you to, no, I'm out.
I want you to feel this, not croak. We have to take a break. So we'll be back. And I love that story only because you were okay.
Yeah, it's my favorite part of it.
Mine too. But we'll be right back. Y'all come back too. And if you have questions, put them in chat. You can go to fatemag.com/fate-radio. And you can get in chat and you can put your questions in there. Or you can go to WBHM-DB.com and click on the Fate Mag Radio image, and that will put you there too. See you on the flip side.
Warning, the following message does not necessarily reflect the views of WBHM-DB or its hosts, guests, listeners, or of any functioning adult in general. In fact, Frank should probably seek professional help. Listener discretion is advised.
Hi there, Frank Lee here. I thought that I would spend a few moments telling you about the positivity from the network here. The overall message of para-unity and happiness, and how everyone here wants to get along with everyone out there, and how everything is just wonderful. Wait, Cat's not looking. Okay, I've got something to really tell you. Okay, so I'm going to tell you what's really going on. Honestly, all that being nice and positive crap was kind of hurting my soul, as dark as it is. So, what's really happening? Well, you see it all the time. Everybody and their brother out there has a paranormal team because they watched a couple of episodes of Ghost Hunters or some crap like that. So they go and they spend half their mortgage payment on tools and things that light up that they don't understand. And then the next logical step after buying matching black t-shirts and posing like 90s rappers for their Facebook page is to, of course, have their own podcast. Well, you know what? You're not going to find that crap here. What we have here at WBHM Digital Broadcasting is the best host, the best guest, bringing you real information. All of the hosts here on this network know their stuff. They are the people who have been out there doing the work, doing actual research. And no, by research, I don't mean binge watching some kind of cheesy TV show on Netflix. I mean reading books. I mean out in the field doing the legwork. And who are they interviewing on their shows? They're bringing you the people they have learned from. They're bringing you the best in the field, covering all kinds of topics from UFOs and aliens to Bigfoot to cryptozoology to ghosts to anything you can think of, a bit strange and unexplained. It is here, and you're going to get the best information here. So stay tuned to WBHM Digital Broadcasting. Don't go anywhere. Speaking of going somewhere, I've got to go before my mic gets cut. We'll see you there on WBHM-DB.
Welcome back to Fate Mag Radio, the online voice of Fate Magazine. I'm so glad you're here because my friend Rick McCallum is joining us tonight. Halloween and all, and he's my favorite monster ever. So I just asked if he would come, and we're sharing some spooky experiences. The one that he just shared was wicked. So we're moving on because I hate when my friends get hurt, but I love when they're better, right?
I like that part myself. That was my favorite part, when I was able to stand up and walk away from all that.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm going to tell you that 4 of the people with you didn't think it was going to happen. So,
well, I got to tell you, and I don't want to sound overly melodramatic or anything, but there's no doubt in my mind I was dying. There's just no doubt. I mean, it's weird when it's happening, but it's just, and you know what, people, it's not scary. So it's just kind of like, oh, okay, on to another adventure. Please let me go to the right place.
I think your ticket's punched for there.
I hope so.
I think you're okay.
I hope so.
Well, you're the kindest person I know. You've got the strongest ethics of almost everyone I know. You're a gentleman. You're kind. And you take care of people that can't take care of themselves. I think you're all right.
Blush. You're making me blush.
Yeah. What ups?
I am kind of on the protective side.
Just a touch.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Just a touch. Well, what was funny was when we're both on the protective side and neither one of us could protect ourselves, much less each other.
That's true.
That was a good time. Oh,
yeah,
gosh.
We could actually beat down a gang of ninjas, but it's just other stuff will just ruin us.
Well, we have questions for you.
I have
and
answers.
We have, we just have so much. Lori said, actually, I'm not going to read this whole question because I want you to set the scenario up at the Norwich Theater.
So I know what the question is then. Hi, Lori. That's my friend Lori, by the way, everybody.
Yes.
I was with Scottish Paranormal, which some of you may not know is that I'm an honorary lifetime member of them. And these guys are as good a ghost hunting group as there is anywhere.
Absolutely, they are.
I mean, and they're just amazing. This tour that I'm going to be an ambassador for, we're going to go on a 9-day tour of Scotland and go ghost hunting at many famous places, and they're going to be there with me. And so are some other people I know. I don't know if they want to say so, but yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. But Norwich Theater, I was a guest. Actually, I wasn't with Scottish Paranormal, excuse me. I was actually with Premier Paranormal. That was Brian Harley and Carol Ann Hosper. And we met Mandy Fellows and her group. It's called Anubis Paranormal in Liverpool. And then we were also there with Gary Fields, who's a psychic medium. We used to have a TV show, and we stayed at his house. But we went to this place, Norwich Theater, and some stuff was happening. And it wasn't like a movie theater. It was like a theater, right? And they said, well, let's go downstairs, see what we could find downstairs. So when we got down there, it was a pretty big room, but they had a pipe that was probably about that big around that went all the way.
I can see you, but they can't. So about 4 to 6 inches round?
I'd say about 8 inches.
8 inches?
Yeah, about 8 inches around. And it went from one side of the wall to the other, and it blocked off one side of the room. And we could be on one side, but not on the other. And the reason was the electrical panels were back there, and the ropes were moving, the curtains and everything were back there. But there was about 8 or 10 feet empty space from where we were to the electrical stuff. So there was room there. And we had gone over to the pipe, and we were standing there looking around and everything. And I looked to my left, and no farther than like 5 feet away was a guy standing there, and he had his head down, and it looked like he was looking at a K2 meter or maybe a phone, just sideways, a silhouette. And I looked at him, and he's on the other side of the pipe. So I turned around to tell Mandy, hey, you whoever your guy is over here, you're going to get us in trouble, right? And I looked there, and Mandy's eyes are really big, right? And then I know something's up, so I turn around and look back there real quick. Nothing there. And I mean, there's nowhere he could have gone. I mean, this was as clear of a full body apparition. I could have patted him on the head from where I was. I'm not kidding. I was that close. And as I turned back around, I looked at Mandy, and she just looked at me. She goes, "You saw him too, didn't you?" And I went, "Yeah, I sure did." Matter of fact, that's one of the blurbs on the back of the book.
Yes.
So yeah, that was really cool. Mandy took us to another place. Actually, Brian Harley did too, and Anubis went with us, and we went to a place called Bolton Abbey, which is hellaciously haunted. I mean,
really?
It is. let's put it this way. More stuff happened there that I can't explain than pretty much anywhere else. Brian
Harley.
That's
saying a lot.
Yeah. Brian Harley got knocked flat out. The people that were up on the altar, I say altar, it's actually, there's no roof on the Abbey, and they have, the ground is up high and it's flat, and that's where the altar used to be. So it's actually flat ground. There's no actual altar there. And we were told that they had done satanic and witchcraft rituals in there. So they put up this little fence around it to keep people out. Well, I was there with two bouncers, Peter Monkman and Justin Lee, and they were bouncers from Liverpool. And we were walking around, and these other people, as we walked back, they were up on the altar. And just to my perspective, going somewhere where they have done satanic and witchcraft is a bad idea, right?
I have always found that to be true.
And they're calling things out because they're, not trying to get anything satanic. They're just trying to get some interaction. And one guy, Gary, is looking this way, and everybody else is looking towards him. And me and Peter started hollering, "Hey guys, get out of there! We're not supposed to be in there," right? And I had an uneasy feeling about him being in there anyway. I mean, as soon as I went there, like my alarm bells were going off. And it was like they didn't hear us. None of them even flinched a muscle because we're both hollering. We're only like 30 yards away, right? And then we're out in the middle of a giant field. They had to hear us, but none of them reacted. Well, right then we saw a big dark shape go around the side of the Abbey. So the three of us take off. And as we get around, we hear all this screaming and yelling. So we go running back, and everybody's kind of hovered around Brian, who's flat on his back, right? And he's out. I mean, give him the 10 count. He's finished.
Oh my goodness.
So Peter jumps over the little fence, and he goes over to get him, and he brings him over. He throws him over the fence, and me and Justin catch him. Justin at the time was like 300 and some odd pounds. We just kind of threw him on top of him, and we went around and we sat him on a bench, and we're trying to wake him up, right? And it was cold out. Everybody else came over the fence, and I was asking them one by one. Now this happened, and I know that these people did not have time to make up a story. I also know that the quality of these people, they wouldn't make up a story.
Exactly.
But you just have to ask, right? Besides that, I want to know what the hell went on. And the one girl, Carol Ann, said, well, Gary was trying to summon, some spirits. And then he told us all, kneel down. And Carol Ann had been a soldier. And she goes, I'm not kneeling down. He goes, kneel down. She goes, you keep talking to me like that, I'm going to tackle you off here I'm going to rugby tackle you off the altar, is what she told him. So she was still kind of standing up, but Mandy had gone down to one knee. Eddie had gone down to one knee. Gary Hughill has just started to go down, and Brian was standing straight up, and then all of a sudden, splat, he was on the ground. So I asked them all what happened, and with the exception of Gary Hughill, they all said they saw something that looked like a goat's head with no eyes fly right at them. And except for Gary Hughill said he thought it looked like a ram's head with no eyes, which gave it more value because not of them were saying the exact same thing.
Right.
But it would look close enough that would get your attention. And like I said, I believe them. I have no doubt not to believe them because they're all above board people. But finally, we have Brian over there, and I'm looking at him. I used to be a lifeguard and do water safety stuff for movies and things, and I'm looking at him, and I could see he's starting to get those micro shivers.
Yes.
Now, it's kind of cold out, so I thought it could have been that, but I thought maybe he was going into shock. So I pulled him off the thing, and I put him flat on the ground, and Mandy went and got her equipment cases, and we lifted his feet up, and he was still doing it. So I was rubbing his arms and, trying to make sure he wasn't, cold and stuff. So I took my coat off because he was still shivering, and I'm looking down, I said, he's still shivering. And then all of a sudden, all these coats started piling on him. All the other people started taking them off to help him out. So finally, we got him back where he was somewhat awake, right? And we said, look, let's get him. You guys go over and get your truck and bring it up to the gate, and we'll bring him over and then take him down and get him coffee or hot chocolate or something, warm him up. So earlier in the day, this is very important that people are listening. Mandy and Carol and I were walking to the gate, and Mandy had told us a story that if something in there is trying to possess you, it won't let you go through the gate. So Mandy actually had medal that had been blessed by the Vatican she was wearing. And I was behind them, and I saw the thing on her neck get yanked backwards, right? And she goes, ow, and she grabs her neck, and you can see where there's like a friction burn, right? So I was like, oh, this is getting real, right?
No doubt.
So she starts to try to go through the gate, and this girl's no shrinking violet, I mean, at all. And she just stops. She goes, something's trying to hold me back. I said, just, you're stronger than that. Go through it. So she manages to go through the gate. And then Carol, who's, like I said, was a soldier, she's, bring it on, right? Well, she stopped and turned around. She goes, I can feel it too. It's trying to keep me here. And I said, just go. And she scooted through. Well, evidently it wanted me to leave because I just walked right through the thing. Right? Get
away with you.
Yeah, away with you, you big oaf. But keeping in mind what had happened, Peter and I each got Brian under one arm, and we were walking him, and he's half staggering, and he's got his head down. And I'm watching the gate, and I want to see if Brian reacts when we get near the gate, right? And he's got his head down. He doesn't even know where he's at. We get maybe like 15 feet away from the gate. He puts his feet down, and he jerks back, and he starts shoving backwards as hard as he can, right? And he had his head down. He didn't know where he was, and he was half out of it. And I was like, there's some validity to all this stuff. I've seen the chain get yanked. The two girls had a hard time going through. He didn't see this, and now he's fighting to stay here, and he's the one that got hit, right? So Peter goes, what are we going to do? And I said, lift him. So we both lifted him up, and we just scurried through the gate and threw him, picked him up and tossed him in the back of the truck and said, go get him some hot chocolate or something. And they took off. So the funny part was we went down there, and finally, after about half an hour, Brian says, okay, I'm ready to go back. And I looked at him, I said, if you try to go back, I'm going to knock your ass out and put you in the trunk.
Well, no doubt, because you know what? You don't go back and give it a second chance.
No, I mean, when all the things were there that was trying to hurt you, go away.
Yes.
Just go home, call it a day. But there's even more to this about what England is like. On the way home, Gary was driving. He was on my right side. I was on the left in the passenger side. Carol and Brian were in the back seat. It's like, I don't know, 2 a.m. And we're driving along, and there's nobody on the highway. And all of a sudden, I hear Carol Ann scream behind us, and the car just goes like on a 90-degree to the left. And I figured that Gary fell asleep, right? So I start to jump over to grab the wheel, and I hear him going, not today, not today, prayers and light, prayers and light. And I'm like, what's going on? And then he steers the car, into the next couple lanes over. Well, I asked him, I said, what's going on? He goes, and both of them start, blah, 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 blah. I mean, they're really excited. They said there was a young guy on the outside of the bridge that we were going to cross over, and had wrought iron on the outside. And he'd climbed to the outside of the wrought iron. And when he saw the car coming, he hunched down and squatted down and leaned out, and he was going to jump onto the car or in front of the car so we would kill him. He was trying to commit suicide. So fortunately, Gary and them had seen it and avoided it. But the other people, Mandy and stuff, had come along later on, and they said, yeah, he was okay. We saw the cops had him, and they're dragging him back over the bridge. So that was good news. But like I said, the intensity over in those other countries is it's off the charts sometimes.
That is off the charts. And
yeah, so
I just can't even fathom, because I think a lot of it isn't so much that the structures and the history is long. I think that those spirits have much more experience in dealing with humanity than what we typically have here. Although
they also came from a lot harder times.
Yes.
So these people might have been made of much sterner stuff than actually we are. Because I mean, this is where people in your family were getting killed right and left in these battles.
Yes.
And they were coming over and burning down your castle. I mean, when we get to Scotland, you're going to see what I'm talking about. I mean, the thing behind me, well, you said nobody can see me. The thing behind me is downtown Edinburgh, and the place is beautiful, but there's some places where the castles have been blown up and there's only half of them left. And there was a lot of fighting there. As a matter of fact, I went ghost hunting at a field, where 30,000 English showed up and 8,000 Scots showed up for the battle. And the 8,000 Scots wiped them out. I mean, being outnumbered by that much. But what had happened was that the English got a little cocky, and they took a quarter of their forces and put them like a mile away from each other in each corner. And the Scots, being good at math, said, well, there's only 7,500 of them over there, and there's 8,000 of us. Let's go get them, right? And they'd go over and they'd wipe that place out. And then they'd, have lunch and, watch some TV or something, and then they'd go attack the other one. And they say it is by far the bloodiest battle in all of Scottish history. And almost nobody knows about it. It's called the Battle of Roslin from 1303. And it's right down the street from Roslin Chapel, which everybody goes to. But the one thing that really got everybody is that right before they went into battle, another small army came up to help the Scots. And the guy's name, when they got up, and they said, what's your name? And he said, William Wallace. So the Braveheart guy actually was out there duking it out. And there's also some people who seem to think that they said there were a bunch of guys that came riding up right at the very last. And a lot of people think it was the Knights Templar that were from the area joined in with the Scots. So,
well, they would.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Just walking around in Scotland, I mean, the history of the place is it's just crazy. I mean, it's so interesting. No matter where you go, there's a story. So,
well, that's what astounds me, is that everywhere that you've gone, you've had experiences there. And we're fixing to have to take another break, but and we have some questions also.
Yeah, I love questions. Keep bringing them.
They will. And so, I can't wait. I'm so excited. So with that, we're going to go ahead and take this break and come back so that we can get on to more experiences, because I know that you have experiences all over the place. But I want to hear what you think. And we're going to save this one for the end of the show, the one that you think is the scariest. So okay. I think that'll be fun. So we're going to go ahead and take our break, and we'll be right back. You come back too.
You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... Nope. That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experienced Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
So welcome back to Fate Mag Radio. I'm so glad you're here because we are having a great time with my guest, Rick McCallum, who just actually happens to be one of my best friends, and I love his experiences because the title of his book is Ghosts Believe in Me, playing monsters by day, hunting spirits by night. But they do believe in him. They recognize him. They know the kind of human he is, and he's just a fantastic human as well as a fantastic ghost hunter, and I'd have to say just a crazy as a bat stunt man. But now he stunt coordinates, and he's smart. That's why he survived all the lunatic stunts, because he knew the physics and he knew how to do them. Most of them. Not all. But, Rick, I'm so glad you survived all that crazy zaniness.
Oh, me too. The old saying, even the best laid plans sometimes go awry.
Right into the trash cans. Yeah.
Yeah, in the trash cans. Well, when I landed on my head on the concrete off the steel wall, that was an eye opener and almost an eye closer. I mean, it was, man, I felt like I got hit on the head with a baseball bat. I mean, it was
just concrete. Wood would have had some give.
Yeah. Well, I was about, 2.5, 3 feet high, and I went straight down on my head like a pile driver. The 10 feet that I flew through the air off the mini tramp and into the steel wall to begin with, upside down, might have had something to do with that.
You think?
But it looked really cool when you see it on screen.
And that's what matters.
That's all that matters.
It is when it comes to the business.
And getting up and walking away is always nice.
That's a primary too.
Yeah, that is objective one.
Well, Brenda says the world without you would be so dull.
Well, it would be different for sure. It wouldn't be dull.
Well, no, because I fully expect that, whichever one of us kicks it first is going to be entertaining the other one.
Oh, yeah. If I go first, I'm going to be haunting the hell out of everybody that I know. I'll be
right?
Pulling on their hair and tugging their shirt. I'll flush their toilet repeatedly at night. I'll do everything rotten. And I will be the guy that steals the one sock. They'll think it's the dryer, but it's going to be me.
I don't doubt that. I do not doubt that. Now, Mark in chat wants to know, will you be going or have you gone to Castle Stalker where the ending of Monty Python and the Holy Grail was filmed?
Which castle is it?
He said Castle Stalker, like Deer Stalker.
I don't know, to be honest. If you go to ghostbelieveinme.com, there's you'll see the first thing is about my book, and then lower than that is the tour, and it tells all the great places we're going to go and the castles we're going to ghost hunt. And just because we might not get there doesn't mean we might not go by there. So you do get to see quite a bit of things while you're traveling in Scotland, which is one of the beauties of the place. So that would be a good place to ghost hunt for sure, though.
I would think. Well, and it's called Stalker.
Yeah. Hey, ghost hunting guys, Scottish Paranormal, get busy.
Get there.
Get busy. Get us into that place. No, they have us in some fantastic places that nobody else gets to ghost hunt. So I mean, I'm so excited, looking forward to it. And my favorite castle, Balgony.
Yes, I can't wait for that.
Even though I did get slapped in the back of the head there, still love that place.
Well, there's no telling what you did.
It was my fault, of course, no matter what it was. I always think it must have been me. So,
well, let's see. What is your very favorite part of Scotland?
That's really hard to say because there's so many, but I really love the village of Roslin. It's small. It's only like 2 blocks long. There's one restaurant inn called the original Roslin Inn. Then there's the Chapel Cross Guest House that I stay in. That's across the street. And the same family owns both. The father owns one, and the son-in-law and the son and the daughter-in-law own the other one. And I always stay in the Chapel Cross Guest House. Matter of fact, I have a story to tell about that, just to show you what kind of people these people are. I always stay at that place for, like 2 or 3 days, and then I go off to St. Andrews, and then I go into Edinburgh, and then I come back there, and, I'm all over the place. But I used to get room number 5 because I could look out, and there's a courtyard where everybody eats at the restaurant right next door, and I can look out, and if I'm bored, I can look out and see people are there. I can go eat, join in some conversations, because people are very friendly. If they see you're sitting there eating alone, it won't be long. They'll drag you over. So my kind of folks.
No doubt.
But I had checked in. I'd got my reservation, and I would sometimes go at night just to go to this place to get dinner because they had real nice food and stuff like that. And later on, I would go walking around through the cemeteries and out by Rosslyn Castle. It's a fabulous place. But Amy comes up to me and she goes, Rick, I want to know if you'll do me a favor. And I was like, sure, what is it? And she goes, can I put you in a different room than number 5? And I was kind of disappointed because I always liked that room. And what's funny is some of the rooms I can't be in because I'm tall, I'm 6'4", and some of them have the wooden footboards. So I don't fit on the bed.
Right.
So I have to be in one of the ones where they don't have that, which was number 5 for one of them. But she goes, oh, okay. So anyway, when I come in that weekend, I always stay there on the weekends because it's like half price of what it is in one of the bigger, like in Edinburgh. And I just love the place anyway. But I went in there and they said, okay, let's go up to your room. And like Richard was there, Amy was there, the 2 girls that worked there, they all followed me up. And I'm like, they're going to kill me and eat me. I know they are. Right? Something's up. Right?
The village is after you.
Yeah, something's up. So anyway, we get up there and they take me to this room number 2. And it faces towards Rosslyn Chapel. You can't quite see it from there, but it's dead on to Rosslyn Chapel. And they said, here you go. And I started to open the door and it was, didn't want to move too good. She goes, oh, it's just new carpet. Just give it a good shove. I said, okay. So I opened the door. And man, I thought I was in a grand suite at MGM. It was gorgeous. The bed was huge. Everything was absolutely brand new. And one thing that is wonderful when you're my height, they had one of the elongated tubs, the big ones, so I could actually get my legs into the tub and underwater. Man, it was beautiful. But not only that, it had a sitting room around the corner that had a TV and a sitting room. And I was like, wow. And I turned around to Amy and I said, Amy, when you had told me you wanted number 5, I thought you wanted that for somebody special. She goes, no, we wanted number 2 for somebody special. You're the first one who's ever been in it. And I was like, oh, man.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, you're going to make me cry. So that's what Scotland is like. That's what the people of Scotland are like. They're so nice. And that's why I really like Rosslyn, the little village. Yes. I've met some good friends there.
People actually let you stay in their house that didn't know you at one point too.
Oh, that was amazing. I got big-headed because I'd been there many years and I had a lot of friends at the hotels, and I had always made out my whole schedule for the month. I'll go here and then I'll go there, and I always got my reservations and stuff. And like at the Chapel Cross Guest House, there's been times when I was the only person in it, right? There's like 9 rooms. It's not huge, but I went out from Edinburgh and I had like 2 more days to stay inside Edinburgh. And then I came out to go for the weekend at the Chapel Cross Guest House. And Amy's just coming out of the back room. And I said, hi, Amy, can I get a room for a couple days on the weekend? She goes, oh, we're all filled up. And I went, what? And she goes, you don't know what's going on, do you? And I went, well, that's frequently the case. Right?
True. I'll vouch for that.
Yeah. And she goes, there's not a room between Edinburgh and Glasgow that's available. She says, I was just on the master hotel list. And I went, what? And she goes, the European Rugby Championships are here. Every room is taken. I was like, oh boy. Right. So I actually said, do you have anybody else I could call? And they said, well, try Carolyn. I said, all right. So I got back to my room and I actually tried to see if I could extend my thing there. And they said, we'd love to extend it for you, but it's all booked. So I called this lady out. Now, I've never met this lady. I've never talked to her on the phone or anything else. And I said, would you happen to have a room available? And she says, oh, I'm sorry. We renovated and they're totally booked. And I went, oh, darn it. And she goes, "What's the matter?" And I said, "Well," I said, I usually save up all year to come here for 3 weeks to a month. I said, and I've been here for 2 days, and 2 days from now, I won't have anywhere to go. I said, I think I'm just going to have to take a plane back to California. And she goes, "Can I call you back?" I said, "Sure." So she calls me back and she says, "I don't know if you'd like this, but my mom is going to England for 10 days. She says you can use her house if you want to."
Right.
And I'm totally stunned. I said, so I'm an American, so you know what I'm thinking? Well, how much does she want? And she says, "Oh dear, don't offer her money. She'll get mad." I was like, "What the hell is going on here?"
Right.
"You've never met me. How can you be so nice? Let me stay in your mother's. How do you know I won't clean the place out?" And she laughed. She goes, "Because you were stunned when I said that. You offered to pay, right?" She goes, "I can tell you're a nice person." I said, "Well, let me get the keys before you meet me." So anyway, I've become really good friends with Isabel and Carolyn. As a matter of fact, last time I was there, she said, "Can you do me a favor?" And I said, "I don't know. What do you ever do for me?" Right. But she's used to my sense of humor. She goes, "No, there's 2 young men over here that want to be stuntmen. And when I told them you were coming, they were all excited. They want to come over and ask you questions if you give them tips." And I went, "Oh, I guess I owe you one. Sure." So they said, "Well, maybe think like a half an hour they can stay." Well, you know me. I can turn hello into a mini series.
Yes,
right?
you can.
So I talked to him for like 2.5 hours and told them all kinds of ins and outs, and they were real grateful, and she was real happy. So that was kind of fun too. So, but Rosalind, to answer the question, favorite question is Rosalind. St. Andrews is right up there.
Yeah.
I mean, that will also be there too, and it's a fantastic history of everywhere you go. Everything's got something really cool about it,
Well, I am looking forward. I'm looking forward, obviously, to Roslyn because I feel this just huge draw there. And one of the first times that I was putting a video together for you that I included the Christmas photos from Roslyn Chapel, I was just so overwhelmed by them. So I'm very much looking forward to that. But I am looking forward to St. Andrews simply because of the beauty of the part of it that are ruins, as well as I come from a family of golfers. So to me, to be able to be standing on the bridge is going to be so amazing.
Yeah, you have to, if you love golf, because right there in St. Andrews is the oldest golf course in the world, the old course. And the bridge, the one you're talking about, is called the Swilken Bridge.
Yes.
And everybody that's ever been a pro golfer, the last time they play there always stops and just stands there and admires the whole scenery for a couple minutes before they go on. And they always let them have as much time as they want. And yes, the screensaver on my computer is me standing on the Swilken Bridge.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but the pictures that you've seen, like the cathedral, the double things that you can see that are amazing. Those pictures were all taken by my friend Kyle Stewart, who you have met, at least talked to on your show. And
I'm looking at his calendar that I get to change tomorrow right here.
Yeah, he is a fantastic photographer. And by the way, just in case anybody out there listening doesn't know, so is Kat. Kat has actually had her own gallery shows. So in case you don't know that about Kat Hobson, she's an amazing photographer too. So matter of fact, on my book, the cover, Kyle Stewart took that at the Hellfire Club.
Yeah. And then got you to take one of him in the same pose.
Yeah, he did. He absolutely did.
Because it was so good. Oh, well, we are fixing to take our top of the hour news break. Good thing I looked up. And we have so much more to cover. I'm having a good time with you, my friend. So
right back at you.
If you have questions, get in chat. Or I guess you could message me on Facebook if you're wandering around lost looking for the chat room. But it's not that hard to find. Just go to fatemag.com/fate-radio. And that will bring you to our site on Fate Magazine's website. Or you can go to WBHM-DB.com and just click on the Fate Mag Radio image. That will bring you to our chat as well. So we will be back. And you know what I say, looking for a little good news, right? Every time. So we're going to give them another chance to surprise us. So just hang with us, be back. We'll be back too. And thanks for listening.
Support for this podcast and the following message come from Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Alabama. Workplace fashions have changed over the years, but what matters stays the same: your employees. We've been the healthcare partner Alabamians have counted on for decades. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Alabama. We cover what matters.
Live from NPR News, I'm Janine Herbst. At the end of the G20 summit, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres warned that the world is rushing headlong toward climate disaster and said the gathering of the leaders of the world's richest countries wasn't what he hoped for. But as NPR's Sylvia Poggioli reports, the G20 host, Italy's prime minister, said progress had been made on climate goals.
Climate change was at the top of the agenda. The final communiqué said the G20 acknowledged the relevance of achieving global net zero greenhouse gas emissions or neutrality by or around mid-century, and it recognized the importance of a 1.5 Celsius goal. Italian Prime Minister Mario Draghi brushed aside criticism that the summit had not gone far enough.
The carbon neutrality around 2050 has been agreed, so meaning no net emissions, no additional net emissions. Before, there was no commitment whatsoever. We're talking about the end of the century.
But he added final judgment on G20 will depend on what we do, not what we say. Sylvia Poggioli, NPR News, Rome.
Minneapolis voters will decide this week whether to replace the police department with a new public safety unit. The proposal stems from the police killing of George Floyd in the city last year. The plan would drop a requirement that Minneapolis have a minimum number of police officers, but that has sparked concerns as violent crime is rising. Barber Tito Wilson says he supports reform, but he is worried about backlash.
We're going to create more chaos by not having a systematic plan about how these changes come about.
The vote takes place on Tuesday. American Airlines says more than 1,700 flights have been canceled this weekend, including hundreds today. As NPR's Deepa Shivaram reports, the airline says it's due to weather concerns and staff shortages.
Sunday has been the worst day of cancellations thus far. American Airlines says 816 flights have been canceled so far today. A letter from the company's chief operations officer tells staff that wind gusts in the Dallas-Fort Worth area in Texas and staff shortages led the airline to proactively cancel flights, leaving long wait times at airports and over the phone. And similar issues have plagued Southwest Airlines and Spirit in recent months as travel has started to pick back up. American Airlines says they're bringing back more than 1,800 flight attendants who are returning from leave starting tomorrow. Deepa Shivaram, NPR News.
In New York City tomorrow, thousands of unvaccinated municipal workers, including police officers and firefighters, face being put on unpaid leave. Friday was the deadline to show they've gotten at least one shot. As of this morning, the police department is reporting an 84% vaccination rate. The fire department, 80%. This is NPR. Web Summit begins tomorrow in Lisbon, marking a return of large-scale tech events after a year or more of mainly online networking. Many attendees will be startup founders looking for investors, but on the main stage, the focus will be on controversies surrounding tech giants. Allison Roberts has more.
Organisers say Web Summit is sold out with 40,000 tickets issued, making it the largest tech event since the pandemic. Black Lives Matter co-founder Opal Tometi and Facebook whistleblower Frances Haugen are among speakers in the opening session, setting the tone for 4 days in which the company, now rebranded as Meta, will recur as a theme, along with online harms more generally. Other issues to be debated include online privacy, equity and inclusion, and empowering future women leaders with activist Amy Poehler, as well as climate change-related matters. For NPR News, I'm Alison Roberts in Lisbon.
And Facebook is among NPR's financial supporters. At the weekend box office, after a record-breaking start, October's box office closed out quietly this weekend with Dune once again topping in its second weekend in theaters with an additional $15 million in estimated ticket sales. Dune is also available on HBO Max. With a production budget of $165 million, Dune has now grossed $69 million in North America. Halloween Kills in its third weekend came in second with $8 million. The James Bond filmed No Time to Die came in third, and Edgar Wright's Last Night in Soho opened in sixth place. I'm Janine Herbst, and you're listening to NPR News.
If you ever wonder how the world's most successful leaders got to where they are, what struggles they faced, and what kept them going, there's a show for you. Each week on my new podcast, my guests reveal how to think more like a leader. Check out Wisdom from the Top from NPR and Luminary.
Welcome back to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 5 minutes after the hour. Welcome back to the second hour here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I am so glad you're here because this has been fun so far. And that is because my guest tonight is my friend Rick McCallum, and we have people showing up in chat, Rick.
Yay!
So if I could, oh, there you go. Hello.
I recognize that woman.
I know, right? I just found my camera and plugged it up. Don't look at the background because I have been packing for days. But my office is a little bit in shambles. So let's get to some of these questions. Do you want to?
Sure.
Okay. Let's see. Oh, that was almost too low. That's not part of me that you want to look at. But anyway, so I have to go up here. Okay. How many movies did you make at Ohio State Reformatory?
Just one movie. It was called Fallen Angels, or as Kane likes to say, Rick's demo tape. I played two
Kane Hodder is a little interesting sometimes.
Yeah, Kane plays Jason Voorhees. He plays Victor Crowley. He's played every single killer in the history of the world, and he's my best friend. So we have had a lot of adventures together on movie sets. Matter of fact, that's where the Hollywood Ghost Hunters got started, was at Mansfield. But I actually played two of the Fallen Angels, and then I doubled two other guys. So like every scene you see, somewhere I'm in it. That's what Kane goes, this is like your demo tape, man.
That's not a bad thing, though, because you have been in a lot of things.
Yeah.
So.
It was funny. At Scarefest, somebody came up, and they had Kane's table and R.A. Mihailov's table and mine. Mm-hmm. And this guy comes up to me and he says, yeah, he says, have you ever been in any movies? And I've got a banner behind me that's got like 40 of them on there.
I know, right? What was he thinking?
I was like, well, like those. And he goes, so you've been in a movie? And I said, well, TV movies and stuff like that and other things, about 75. And he goes, really? Have you ever done a movie with Kane? And I went, about 30 of them, I think. Right?
I mean, because seriously, y'all have worked together your whole career.
Yeah. Actually, I met him on my very first movie. It's called Lone Wolf McQuade down in Texas.
Yes, that's the Clint Eastwood, right?
No, Chuck Norris.
No. Thank you. I am so wrong about these things.
He was close, though. Chuck Norris, Clint Eastwood, they're...
Well, same genre.
Yeah, they're...
At least it was in the genre.
Exactly.
Right? Because I'm not usually. Because that's not my strong suit. Right?
I don't know you to have a weak suit, so let me just say that. So, there, now you can blush a little. Can I tell them a story real quick?
Yeah.
Because
I'm scared. I don't know what the story is.
No, you reminded me of it.
Uh-oh.
And it's the weirdest thing that's ever happened to me as far as, being at conventions or things like that. We were in Minnesota, And I walked into the casino, and there were some people that I'd been talking to earlier in the day at one of those round tabletops. And I went over to talk to them, and there was this one lady, bigger lady and very drunk lady, reaches up and grabs my hand and yanks me towards her, trying to pull me down on top of her. And I'm trying to be gentlemanly about this and let go of me, right? And she's not letting go. And I'm like, please, I need to see my friend, and she's trying to pull me on top of her. And I'm like, no, that's not going to happen. And then right then, a girl comes up behind me and bites me on the ass like a freaking crocodile, right? And I jumped backwards and I looked, I said, what did you bite me on the ass for? And she goes, trying to get you loose. I said, what? There's got to be a million other ways. And she goes, besides that, you've got a biteable butt.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, oh.
Well, apparently you do, because there's photo evidence.
Well, there is evidence of that, but that was just one of those things. That was funny. That was funny.
That is funny.
In my
but
book,
that is not the only time that's happened to you.
No, actually not. I don't know why. Maybe because I'm tall. Maybe their hand just comes right to grab my butt.
Maybe. Well, yeah, it's just for some people like Sherry and Chad, it would be just the right height.
How tall is
Sherry at that distillery when we both looked like death warmed over. But only one of us really was death warmed over.
Well, I got to tell you that at that distillery, I mean, if they needed extras for The Walking Dead, we were ready, because
we were on point. And I have been there, so I've been to The Walking Dead, so
I stunt coordinated one of their webisodes.
It's really funny because just about everybody from Birmingham has driven over to be on, to be an extra on The Walking Dead. So, 2-hour drive, go have fun, go home.
That sounds like a good day for me.
Draw a little something other. Let's see.
When we did the Walking Dead webisode here in California,
yeah,
we were at a big storage warehouse, like 8 stories high or something, 5 stories high. And they had all the bodies and stuff out by a trailer down below on the ground floor. And if you needed to use the restroom, you had to use the porta potties they had outside. And it was dark and it was kind of windy. And I went walking down there and I'm looking at all the bodies that are laying around and stuff like that, and nobody down there. And just as I go by, there's this big snap right next to me. And I'm like, and it happened to be a black plastic bag they were keeping body parts in, and the wind caught it and it went, right? But you're walking, you're seeing all this gruesome looking stuff, and the big sound jumps next to you. You're like, I went into into this. I was ready. I've seen The Karate Kid twice. That makes me an expert.
So you were the crane.
Yeah, I was right there. I was doing the crane.
I like that. Oh, boy. There's a reason I don't run my camera during these shows. Let's see. We have got so many questions. And we have, looks like SCARS, SCARS.
Mm-hmm.
It's an organization.
I think that's Southern California area
cool.
ghost hunting group.
Well, they want to know, would you share with the listeners what your favorite piece of equipment is and why? And I'm going to tell you that I went to bat with my guest, who was a parapsychologist, Wednesday, about the K2. So anyway, go ahead.
K2 is by far my favorite, and then my FLIR Spectrum camera is second, which I actually just sent you that picture of what I found in Buffalo Central Terminal.
Oh my gosh.
Man standing there in the hallway where nobody was at. I mean, that was pretty cool. I do like the K2. I do realize that there's things that can interfere with it, but I've been doing it so long, I know how to tell if it's something interfering.
Right.
I also can tell the difference between electricity and actual EMF. So I actually get a lot of stuff on the K2 meter, and I've shown some people some of it. I showed them last night. I was at the LAPD museum doing a ghost hunt, And I showed them one, and they were like, "Holy crap, this is bizarre." And I said, "Yeah."
Right?
I said, when you hook up with something and it actually plays along with you, it's a very good piece of equipment. But I think
that happens a lot. You've got direct responses and not just haphazardly.
Yeah, a lot of times. Matter of fact, that's what the Scottish Paranormal guys said to me. They said we went into the West Wemyss caves, and I took out my K2, and they said, "Mate, that doesn't work in here." And I said, "Well, let me try anyway." I said, "What's the name of the girl that you guys say is in here?" And they said, "Mary Sibbald." So I took my K2 out, and I turned on. I said, "Hi, my name is Rick. Is Mary Sibbald here?" And it goes all 5 lights, and they went, "Oh, what the hell?" So then it was doing it at the castle. It's I don't know. I just seem to have an affinity for that thing.
Well, spirits like communicating with you. And from my experience investigating with you, although not often enough because we're on opposite ends of the country, they like communicating with you.
Well, I do things a little differently than most people. Number one, when I go into a place, I explain the equipment. I don't just, I just don't say, come to the K2 meter. How do I know they know that? Especially when you're in Scotland and they might be from the 1500s, just saying here's a light, they don't know what that is.
Yes.
So I explain to them how it works and how then we can talk by using it, which seems to really do that. And the other thing that I learned a long time ago is I don't provoke. I don't like when people do it. I won't let them do it around me. And the other thing somebody asked me one time, they said, "What would happen if you saw somebody faking evidence?" I said, "Oh, that's easy. We'll ghost hunt them next."
And that's why I like you so. Because we have a lot of the same opinions.
Yeah, I try to be very polite to the spirits because here's something that's earthbound that shouldn't be. It's probably confused, right? Yes. And it was a person,
It is a person.
And I just try to treat them nice, and it seems to work most of the time.
I think so. It certainly seems to.
Yeah.
So it works for you.
That's all I got is me. That's all I can use.
Right. I enjoy that too. Although I am planning to try to connect with some Key West paranormal people when I get there. So let's see. We have more questions. This is so funny because some of these I just can't share. So I'm not gonna. Although Brenda says she would like a life-size picture of you in a kilt, but she can't wear a kilt because they're wool. So, let's see.
I've got part of a kilt on my head.
That is true. Well, actually, it's part of the kilt outfit.
Yes.
Okay. This is from Sherry, who always has outstanding questions. But I know the answer to this, and this will be fun for you. Rick's been in a lot of scary movies, but is he actually a horror movie fan like I am? If not, what are some of his favorite genre of movies, or maybe a couple of your favorite movies that you've actually seen?
Oh, as strange as it may be, I'm not a horror fan. I mean, I've been in like 30 horror movies, and I'm just not a fan. They bother me, just to be honest, to seeing people getting hurt.
You're an empath. Of course they bother you.
It just really bothers me, so I don't watch them. I mean, I don't mind a good shoot 'em up or something like that, but I don't like seeing people being tortured or stuff like that. It really bugs me. But my favorite movie all time, hands down, The Quiet Man with John Wayne and Maureen O'Hara. And if there was any two actors and actresses that could match that chemistry that they had, would be astounding, because those two were like, simpatico. They were joined at the hip, and they weren't actually a couple. They just had the same brain, I think. It was so cool.
Well, that's a special gift too, because the people that were couples that acted as couples were not always simpatico like that.
Well, you know what John Wayne said about Maureen O'Hara?
What?
He said, she's one of the toughest guys I know.
That's pretty true.
If you've ever seen The Quiet Man, you could not film that movie today.
Mm-mm.
Because there's scenes in it which are very germane to what the story is, and you have to know what is actually going on. There's a scene where he grabs her and drags her off a train and keeps throwing her down the way to go meet up with her brother. Right. And there's a scene in there where this lady comes over and hands him a stick. Here's a nice stick to beat the young lady with. Right? I mean, it's like, you'd never see that, but this was a long time ago. It's supposed to be old time Ireland, right?
Well, old time Ireland, maybe not so old time Ireland.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, they couldn't make that one now. But
they could not make that one now.
But
that is a lot of people's favorite movie.
It's because it connects with you.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, the scene where he's pushing her over to her brother, and he says, "Here, no dowry," because she's mad he didn't get her dowry for her. Her brother wouldn't give it to him, and John Wayne doesn't want to fight with him because he killed somebody in the ring. That's why he moved back to Ireland. And her brother's a huge guy, right? So it's not like a fair fight. And finally, he just throws her back on the ground. The whole town follows him, right? And he says, "Here, no dowry, no marriage. It's your law. I didn't make it up," right? And they have a kiln there, and they're doing something. So he throws it down. He goes, "Here's your blood money," right? So she picks it up, and he walks over to the kiln, and he opens it up. She runs over and looks at him and goes, and throws the money into the kiln. Right. And she looks at him. She goes, "I'll be at home fixing the supper." And she goes bouncing off so happy because she knows that they're going to beat the hell out of each other. It's one of the best fight scenes all over Ireland. So The Quiet Man, hands down, absolutely the best. I have a picture right up there on my wall of John Wayne from The Quiet Man, and it's autographed. So one of my favorite possessions.
You have a lot of cool possessions.
I do.
So. Well, my would be, we've got to go to break.
That's not a...
No, but will you join me after the break?
I will do that.
We'll be back.
You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama. Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting. You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio. Broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... Nope. That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
We are confident that none of our hosts are possessed. Being repossessed a few times, that might be a different story. You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama.
Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 23 minutes after the hour. Welcome back to Fate Mag Radio, the online voice of Fate Magazine. And if you haven't been to the website, fatemag.com, we have t-shirts, we have trading cards, we have uncirculated issues if you're trying to complete your collection. I know a lot of people have collections, and a lot of people tell me that this was their downtime reading in certain areas of their house as they were growing up. So I think that's a pretty strong compliment, because we've been in publication since 1948. That's a long time. And
Actually,
it's still awesome. And our editor is fabulous. And we've got some of the guys that are actually doing readings from different issues of Fate on YouTube. You can find those there. And you can't see them reading. It sounds like a computer voice, but it's still pretty awesome. We have some of the best people that work for Fate. So that being said, we have Rick McCallum here with us, and I am so glad you're here. Thank you so much.
I'm glad I'm here too. By the way, I was an avid reader of Fate magazine. I mean, and not just a little bit. I mean, like, I would stand there waiting for them to unbox the new deliveries. Come on, bring it out. Get out there. Where's Fate? Get it over here. So, yeah, I kind of grew up on Fate magazine.
Well, I feel like that when I get my new editions, because I have them to give to people. And in fact, I'm going to offer that here at our next break. But you can get a copy from me of some of the ones that I have. Or you can get a digital copy. Phyllis will send it to you. But y'all are welcome to get these. I have so many magazines because 2 years. 2 years of not going anywhere. So we're going to work on that.
Yeah.
But, Brenda said you could do a life class.
A live what?
Life class. Because of your experiences and because of the attitude that you bring to your outlook.
That'd be cool. That's a compliment. I'll take that.
I would agree with it.
Well, you know what? I just try and treat people like I'd like them to treat me. You know, that old golden rule thing?
You do a good job.
You know, actually, I get a little overboard sometimes. I mean, I see somebody... I remember going over to do the stairs, or the structure that I walk on the weekends, and seeing a girl had been going through the garbage, and when I came down, she was sleeping on the concrete. So I actually filmed myself going over there for a cover your butt deal, right? And woke her up and gave her $20. She didn't want to take it. I said, just take it, hush. Right? But
such a gentle giant.
Well, I give more stuff away than I actually buy for me. I mean,
You do.
and I'm not kidding. I really do. And I don't. And I'm not a rich guy.
Well, I love that what you make from your books, from the sale of Hollywood Ghost Hunter shirts, from... I know I was going to wear mine in honor of you, but I didn't know that you would be seeing me. So I'm in pink. Not quite the black.
I don't know if you can see that. No, it's vanishing on my...
It is vanishing. That's...
It's haunted!
It's a hologram. But, you know, I love that book. And the book that I'm writing is about my experiences as well. And I just decided... I'm also working on one on dimensionality. But that's one that was requiring a lot more time. And I got frustrated. I actually had like 3 books at once going, right? So I'm an overachiever. Actually, I'm an underachiever because I didn't finish any of them yet. So
But you
we're
will.
working on that.
and you'll get all three of them almost the same time. So when the first one's really, really good, and people say, "Do you have any other books?" Why, yes, I do.
Why, yes, I do.
Why,
but it's
yes,
not
I
quite
do.
the same genre. So that would be fun. But, we have digressed. We have digressed so much from where we were going.
My fault.
No, my fault.
My bad.
It's the one time I get to be the boss of you. Not
Every
really.
time I've
I'm
met
kidding.
you, you've been the boss of me. What are you talking about?
I kid. But I actually do want you to share some experiences that you've had here, because I know that you've had some that were scary. I know you'd say you weren't scared because, big bad stuntman ghost hunter, but you're really not big bad stuntman ghost hunter. You're one of the kindest people I know. And it's really interesting to see you when you're around, when you're doing a public thing, because your empathic skills are so strong. Your gentleness is so surprising to a lot of people, and your kindness overrides almost everything else. And you want to make sure that if somebody is doing an event with you, that they're having fun and they're getting the full experience, and that that they can get to your event. Because the first time I met you, that first Scarefest we were at, you actually helped Elizabeth Sloan get to the event because there wasn't another way for her to get there.
That is
and
true.
She is a good friend of mine. And I hope she's listening. I know she probably is.
Everybody loves Elizabeth, by the way.
Everybody loves Elizabeth Sloan.
And I have to say, I'm probably the last one who danced with her. Do you remember it?
You probably are.
At the distillery when I grabbed her and started dancing with her around. No, the thing that Kat's talking about, when we were doing this ghost hunt at Scarefest, Elizabeth Sloan, who is in a wheelchair, she loves ghost hunting, and she'd signed up for this, and there was an accident near where they were picking us all up at, and the special bus that they had that was wheelchair accessible was stuck in the traffic. So they decided they would use the one from the Hilton or whichever hotel that was, but it wasn't wheelchair accessible. And I just turned around and looked. I said, "How far away is this place?" And they said, "It's right over there, about a mile." I said, "Are there sidewalks?" And they said, "Yep." And I said, "Let's go." So I just grabbed her. And actually, Kathy Sickler and Deb White and another girl that I don't know who she was, we just took her along. And I kept teasing her. I said, "You realize everybody's thinking you're royalty, with us all pushing you, and you've got an entourage." And, so that was sweet. Yeah, it was about a mile. So, I couldn't leave her sitting there. I mean, I know how much she loves ghost hunting. So we had a good time, too.
Well, Sherry in chat says, "Yep, I have pics of that dance at the distillery."
Yeah, see?
So, how cool is that?
Was I holding my stomach? No, that was when I was like stick thin, so I don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, you were stick thin.
I was like, I was dying. Had a mysterious illness. They didn't know what it was.
Yeah, I'm so glad you're okay.
Me too.
I would miss you.
I kind of like me. You wouldn't miss me because I'd be haunting you. So
that's
not
true.
in any of the funny places. I'd leave you and David alone for your free time, and some places are off limits.
Well, if there's Tillamook in the house, you can't be here then either.
Oh, dang it! There is Tillamook in this house, though.
I know. Well, just so all of y'all know, Rick is a terrible influence on my household because my husband brought home Tillamook mudslide yesterday and said, "You have Rick to thank for this." And I said, "I'm going to have to."
That is the best ice cream I have ever had. I think I ate my own body weight every month in ice cream.
Well, I'm going to tell you that, the only Tillamook I had was their peanut butter chocolate, which I did not feel fared favorably to Haagen-Dazs. I'm sorry. Yeah. But the mudslide, oh my gosh.
That is a class of itself.
It is. It's a whole different world of ice cream. And I'm not a big ice cream person. I like whatever. But
I like ice cream.
I think that I like a good vanilla. I'm boring.
I like it too if you put Tillamook mudslide on top of it.
Or hot fudge.
That's always a good thing.
Hot fudge is
good.
I
was actually ghost hunting down in Tombstone, Arizona. I went to the Bird Cage and a couple of places. And they had the Longhorn Steakhouse right on the corner. And it's actually where Morganer got shot from upstairs. The guy shot him out in the street. And I went in there and they had a steak that looked like when you watch the old Flintstones when they put the rig. This thing came out, it a plate couldn't cover. It was just huge.
Did you eat the whole thing?
I ate the whole steak. And then I looked over at the guy and I said, because there's only a couple people in there. And I said, do you have any ice cream? And he goes, yeah, we have vanilla. I said, you got any hot fudge or anything? He goes, yeah. And I said, well, I want a big thing of ice cream. And he goes, a big one, huh? I went, yeah. So he came back, and I'm not kidding. He had like 6 or 7 scoops of ice cream, and this bowl was huge. And he had like probably 8 inches on top of it of whipped cream and like maybe 10 cherries and nuts and everything else. And he goes, here you go. And he set it down, and everybody's going, the other people that were there. And he came back about 15 minutes later. I'm sitting there, and he goes, you ate it? I said, you brought it to me, didn't you?
Didn't want to waste it.
He didn't know he was dealing with an ice cream professional.
Well, you are. I'll give you that.
There is no. I should be the Tillamook spokesman. That's what it
you should. They should actually do something for you, like give you free ice cream for all these endorsements you give them.
I would think so, at the very least.
Yeah.
Well, you had asked me about the scariest things
in the U.S.
In the U.S. There've been several, actually.
Really?
Yeah, there's been quite a few. There's a story in my book, I call it Saved by a French Whore.
Yeah.
Which was what I called my father. we weren't the Waltons by any stretch of the imagination. My dad loved Aramis cologne, and he had about a 40-foot hallway. And I would be in watching TV, and when he would come out of his room, I could smell him that far away. And I'd always yell down, and I'd go, here comes the French whore, right? And Vandy would laugh, he would laugh. Well, he had passed away, and I was driving my 4Runner back to Tennessee. And as I was driving along, I was in the speed lane, and off to the left were these high cement things where they put as barriers when they're building stuff.
Yeah.
And there was one of those double tankers, with the silver tanks, that they usually have gas or milk or something in them. And it was on my right. And I'm driving, and I'm just getting ready to go in between the two because the lane's open. And my brakes just slam. And I don't have my feet on it. Just the car just started fishtailing and everything else. And I'm doing everything I can not to hit anything, right? And I finally trying to get it to go this way. And right then, the tanker truck, the double tanker truck, went boom. I just flew across and hit the cement guardrail.
Yeah.
And if I had been where I was supposed to be, I'd be dead.
Yeah.
Right. Without a question. But as soon as it went by me, the brakes went off and I pulled to the right. It's just a darn good thing that nobody was coming. Right. And I was driving down the way, and the whole time I was driving, my hands were like, the adrenaline rush. Yeah. Just like, and then about a mile after that, the whole inside of the car filled up with Aramis. So I was like, all right, Pa, good one. So that,
appreciate that.
Yeah, appreciate it a lot. But that was very scary. The other thing that was very scary and actually led me on another path was my dad called me up and he asked me, because we had a business together, the family business. And he and my evil stepmother, Vandy, who's actually one of the nicest people you'll ever meet. That's why I get to call her my evil stepmother. And she's like my wingman. We'll be out to eat. And I'll be talking to the waitress and stuff. And the waitress will look at me, and then she'll look over at Vandy, and Vandy go, that's my stepson. He's single. So she's like, so I have this little tiny wingman. Vandy's like 4 foot nothing. She's a little tiny person. But they had gone to Australia for a month and asked me to come back and keep an eye on the business. So I went back to their house, and my dad lived in a pretty good neighborhood. It's where a lot of the country stars lived.
Yeah.
And he lived up on a hill, and there were other houses on that hill. And but a really nice neighborhood. And my 280ZX had gotten stolen, which was funny because I saw it going, and I dove on top of the car, And when it took off headfirst into oncoming traffic, I bailed, right?
Sometimes you have to know when to let go.
Yeah, well, if he would have gotten an accident going the wrong way, guess who's going to go flying into traffic? Would have been me.
Yeah.
So I bailed, but they found the car after I bought another one. So I said, well, instead of flying back to Tennessee, my car is registered in Tennessee a long time ago. I said, I'll just drive it back and sell it. Right. So I drove it back and they were gone. And I had the car, I'd listed it and somebody wanted to see it the next day. They were interested. So I said, you know what? I have the oil here. I'm going to jack up the car and change the oil for the guy. Right. So it's maybe 11:30 at night, real quiet out. And we had 4 dogs. You might know what that's like.
I have a subtle idea.
Yeah. Well, we had 2 big Dobermans. We had a Terrier and we had a Chihuahua. The Chihuahua was the mean one. Yes. Right? He'd start the fights and then the Doberman would come out and eat the neighbors. But I'm down there and I get under the car and it's jacked up and it's a 280ZX. They're very low slung, right? Yes. So I'm underneath the car and I put the ratchet on there to, get the oil plug off. And I've got my tub down there to get all the oil and it's stuck and I'm getting mad, right? I'm yanking on it. And I heard a voice behind my ear say, let it go. And it wasn't like inside my head. I heard a voice and I was like, what was that? Right?
No doubt.
So I crawled up into the car and I thought there's somebody in the house. So I went in there and all the dogs were like, right? So I knew there was nobody in the house. So I thought, well, maybe somebody was walking by outside and the dog picked something up and somebody said, let it go. So I opened up the garage door and there's nobody out there at all, completely empty. I thought, just imagining stuff. So I put the thing back down. I said, all right, I'm getting this thing off now. Now I'm firing myself up. I'm going for my 50 dips. Inside joke, everybody. I've been trying to do 50 dips at once. And I've been telling, poor Cat has had to put up with me telling how many I get every day.
Hey, but you're progressing nicely. You're right at it.
Well, I was 51 yesterday. So that's pretty good for an old guy that's fat. But anyway, I crawled back underneath the car and I'm getting ready and I'm like really motivated to get this thing loose. And I heard this voice again, but this time it wasn't quite as gentle and it went, let it go. And I was like, all right, something is weird. And I was on my back and I slid out from under the car. And just as my head cleared the car fell off the jack and I actually felt the car go through the top of my hair. That's how close it was.
Yeah.
So I just sat up and I mean, you talk about another adrenaline rush, right? Yeah. But after that changed a lot of things for me because I knew when they talk about guardian angels, I just got bitch slapped by mine twice.
Absolutely.
Right. By the way, that's going to be the title of my next book. My guardian angel just called for backup.
I love that name, that title. But we have to take a break.
No,
it's our last break.
I'm having fun talking to Kat Hobson, the voice of Fate Magazine Radio.
And she's having fun talking to you, too. But we do have to take a break. It's our last one. So if you have any more questions, pop them in there. Or if I've missed one, let me know. We'll see you on the flip side.
You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... Nope. That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Since 1948, Fate Magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Cat Hops, Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experienced Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Welcome back to the final segment of Fate Mag Radio, our Halloween edition. So I am so glad you're here. And Rick McCallum, I am so glad you're here because you are giving me all kinds of information, and I appreciate that. So I want to know your second scariest. I know that you have picked up some spirits around, right? You've seen some as you were traveling. You've had people interact with you. All kinds of things. Yeah, what is something that you thought was like, okay, this is completely off the charts?
Well,
this is not what I want to do.
I saved two for the big ending.
I love that.
I do a lot of writing, and I was writing a script about a battle between good and evil. And there's a scene where, I think you might have read it, not sure. There's a scene where this cop gets caught by the demons, and they tell him, you know, if you accept Satan, we'll spare you. And the guy reaches into his thing. The demon has him up, holding him by his throat, and he's getting ready to kill him. The guy looks over and he sees a pile of bodies, so he knows how they already operate. And the guy just takes his crucifix out and sticks it in the demon's face, and he goes, "Sorry, I made my choice a long time ago." Well, right after I wrote that story, I walked out. It was maybe 2 a.m. to get a drink of water,
right?
And I didn't have any of the lights on in the living room or the kitchen. And as I walked by the dining room and the kitchen, there are the same lights outside, so they're always the same light. But as I got to the dining room, it was pitch black almost, and I was like, it threw me off because the other one was still kind of lit. And I was like, what's going on here? And then I saw something start to stand up in the darkness, and there's a cutout that goes to my kitchen, and I could see around the head and shoulders, because it was backlit, something standing up, and it was big, and it stood up. At first I thought it was a burglar. I put my fist up ready to defend myself, and it went up, and it went up, and it went up, and it went up, and it was huge. And I could feel nothing but energy coming off of it, trying to intimidate me. Mm-hmm. And I got to tell you, it was doing a real good job of it. Right?
That's rare, though.
Thumbs up for you, whoever you were. But I knew exactly what it was.
Yeah.
Okay. I knew from what it was trying to send to me and everything else. I knew it was something that got sent because of what I'd just written.
Yes.
You know, like saying, you want to play this game? Well, I stood my ground and went, well, yeah, I do. Right. So I hopped over to hit the light and it was gone. But later on down the line, we did have a confrontation. So, but yeah, that was very scary when you're sitting there and something pops up and starts coming up in front of you in the middle of the night, and you're standing there looking at it. You're like, whoa.
I didn't really mean that I wanted you to show up here.
Yeah, it's just a story, okay?
Yeah.
But the last one that I wanted to tell you, that this is the one that scared me more than anything. I was coming back from Las Vegas. And you remember the picture I showed you that looks like there's a triangle UFO in it?
I do.
Next to the solar farm. It was like right about there before they built the solar farm, because this was a long time ago, about 30 years ago. I was driving through there and it was real quiet. It was real late at night. And it's a very desolate area. I'm driving along and I see like movement off to the side of the road. So I'm thinking maybe there's an animal over there. So I'm slowing down. I'm keeping an eye on it. And as I got closer, I could tell that it was a man dressed in black, and he had on a pointy hood, right? And I'm watching him, and I want to make sure he doesn't dart out in front of me and anything. So I'm watching. And as I got up close to him, he turned around and his face was bone white. I mean, as white as you can get. And if you've ever seen a picture of the Grim Reaper with the clothes and the whole deal, that's exactly what this guy looked like.
Wow.
And I'll tell you this, it was not, whatever it was not one of us. And you'd be surprised how fast my car could go. Because I was like,
probably not, because I would have been hot-footing it too.
Yeah, I've never seen anything like that. I mean, when you say bone white, I mean, it's whiter than paper. I didn't see any eyes. It was just kind of dark area. And it just like, the way it turned around, it looked at me. It wasn't like it was just seeing if I was going by. It was like sizing me up as it was looking at me as I was going by. And that, ever since then, really scared me, you know?
That's wild, though, because that had to be desolate before they put the lights there.
There was nothing there. It was just all that empty sand everywhere down that area. So the fact of seeing anybody out there, and it wasn't somebody that was hitchhiking, because I was the only car coming, he would have stuck his finger out.
Yeah.
It was something that it wasn't us.
It was there for you.
Well, I hope not.
Well, I mean, you made the intelligent choice.
Yeah.
You know, you got away from it.
It may have been heading somewhere close by, but actually, to tell you the truth, I don't think there was anything close by, because I had just gone past, for the people that knows that, Good Springs south, and it was right in that area. Like, ugh, still get a chill up my back every time I think about that.
I can't fathom that. Because I know you, and it's hard for me to envision you being tense with anything like that. So,
this terrified me.
Yeah, I believe that, because I know you. I know that I know how you react to things, and that's pretty extreme for you.
Usually my favorite word comes when I feel something coming up, and you're going to know what it is. Battle. Battle. Yeah.
And
that's just my nature. If there's trouble, I'm trying to stop it, you know.
But you didn't with that.
No, I when I saw that, I knew that was nothing to mess with. Keep going. Keep going faster. Go faster, faster, faster.
You know,
stop at the each car light, buy a better, faster car. You know.
That's still a desolate area, though, even with the workers there, and you know, until you get down to the Death Valley exit.
Yeah, like Zizek's Road and all that stuff. Yeah. Well, there is another place just after that. It's Prim.
Yes.
Is right after that. So it was between Prim and Good Springs. And actually not all that far from the Pioneer Saloon.
Yeah. Well, we both like there.
Yeah, no.
Except for eating.
Homie, don't do that, whatever that was.
No.
Exit stage right even.
Exit any stage other than the one he's heading for.
Feet, don't fail me now.
No doubt. We have one last question.
Let her rip.
Sherry, you know, was with us at the Old South Pittsburgh ghost hunt that you came for. And she wanted to know if you had any cool experiences at the, you know, other than that fantastic mountaintop place that we went to, top of the mountain. Was that the name of that?
Yeah, top of the mountain.
Top of the mountain. If you are in the Old South
Top of the
Pittsburgh
world,
area,
I think it was. Was it top of the world?
Wasn't top of the world. It has to be top of the mountain.
Yeah, but whatever it was something.
It was, and if you're in that area, go. Just go.
It's way up on the hill, and it's got the best view you'll ever see.
Yeah. It's looking off the Jasper Mountain, like towards the Tennessee River, and you can see Nickajack Dam, and there's the food is to top of the rock. Thank you, Lori.
That was it.
So go there. But what kind of cool experiences did you have at Old South Pittsburgh, or did you?
Well, on the last one, not so much, because we were upstairs and it was like 465 degrees.
And
Lori seemed to be getting the most activity of all of us.
I think so.
because she had her REM pod going, and it was really going. I was wandering around trying to interact with the guests,
Yes.
so I didn't get much there, but I had been one of the first people to ghost hunt Old South Pittsburgh years ago. Kane and I and a couple other people went there, and there was one of the weirdest things happened there. We were standing by the nurse's station, and I looked down the hallway, and I'd set my camera on a box so it could look into the room where they see the old lady.
Mm-hmm.
And we're standing down there, and I look and I see the blue light of my camera going up and down. I'm like, what the hell's going on? And everybody came over to look, and they see it going up and down, right? So we watched it for a minute or two, and Kane comes over, and Kane's very skeptical about stuff. So it's, that's,
Yes.
and he's watching, and he's going, what? I said, it looks like my camera's going up and down, right? Because we can see the light. And I said, but I don't think it's my camera, right? And we saw this blue light about the size of a tennis ball, right? And it's moving all over the place. So he goes, oh, it's just suggestion. You're talking about that. I said, all right, everybody, listen to me. Whenever this thing moves, yell out instantly which way it's going. So every time it would move, all of the people were yelling the same thing: left, right, up, down. And then it went down close to the floor, and it looked like the moonlight on the water effect.
Yes.
Right. And then it went back up, and I'm looking around, and there's like another group that's with us. Nobody's filming this. I couldn't film it. My camera was at the other end. Right. Well, it stops. So we go walking down there, and I pick up my camera, and I look at it, and I run the tape back. This is how long ago it was. It was tape. The camera didn't move. Wasn't the camera. So as we're walking back, and I think this is one of the few actual things of an orb that you'll ever see. I mean, because it had its own light source. It was down the hall. It was moving, and it was there for a fair amount of time, probably over a minute easily. But on the way back, the guy goes, that couldn't have been your camera. I said, why not? Because it's dark in there. And he goes, look, there's one of them big black garbage bins in the middle of the hallway. He says, this is in the way of your camera. You can't see that from down there. So as we're walking back, the other group had a camera on the ground aiming this way. And as I'm walking towards it, I see the camera go, whoosh, 90 degrees, just move right in front of me. I told the guys, I said, guys, your camera just moved, right? Everybody's down at the other end. So it's nobody bumped into it. I mean, it's way down the other way. And the guy goes, no, it's facing down here. I said, I just saw it move, right? And he goes, let me look down. And then he goes, holy cow, the camera's facing this one. I said, I just told you that. I told you I saw it. So
sometimes you are, Kane.
Yeah. Well, no, I wasn't the one telling him. I said, I saw it. Come on.
Yeah.
And it was actually one of the guys from the other groups. But we did have a funny moment there. We were downstairs, and I was filming. And one of our guys says, can you let us know that you're here? Right. And I see Kane in the background. And just as he says that, Kane trips over a bucket. Right. And he hits it. And he goes, and as soon as he hits the bucket, the guy says, can you give us a sign that you're here? And you hear clank. And I said, or just trip Kane. So Kane was like, son of a bitch.
That is so funny.
And I actually have that on film.
Well, you also have those legs on film.
That's true. Yeah.
That's wicked.
Yeah. That's the same place where we were standing, that exact spot where I saw down the hallway, the orb. But for the people who don't know, we were there, and there's a wall in the background, and we're all on the left side, and you see legs come from the right side and walk, shadow of legs across, and you see them on the wall go walking across. It was like, okay.
That was a good catch. So
well, the other one, if you have time, I'll tell it real quick. We went up to the third floor, and back then, I don't know if it's still the case, they said that the phone used to go off at 1:30 in the morning. And at that time, there was no phones in the building. There was no lines that went in the building. The only line went to the guy that was the caretaker out front. He had a room down lower. And we went up there, and we were investigating. All of a sudden, I hear this old-time phone ring, right? And I was like, hey, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. So we start walking back away, and I said, but you know what? It still could be a phone. If you really want me to believe something is here, do something bigger than that. And it wasn't maybe 2 seconds. maybe 10 feet in front of me. You know the doors with the steel thing that you hit to open it?
I do.
One of those went blam. I mean, it shook the whole floor. And I just stood there and I looked at everybody and went, okay, that was pretty good.
That was good.
That was pretty good. So I actually grabbed the walkie-talkie. I said to the other group, I said, where are your members? Any of them near a door? And they said, no, they're in the room they have. I was like, okay. But I mean, this thing, I've never heard a door slam that hard in my life. I mean, it's like, blam. So
you asked for big.
Old South Pittsburgh had some stuff, you know. But when we went this time, it looks totally different than it used to. They really did.
They've really worked so hard. And I was supposed to do a live feed, but my car is not available right now, so I couldn't get up there because we are a one vehicle family right now. I loaned my car out because I'm going to be out of town. And in fact, I got asked to have you back Wednesday. I'm not talking to you online Wednesday. I might talk to you on the phone. But we are going to be off this week because I am traveling. This is my annual foray out into the wild. So, thank you so much for being here tonight and enjoying Rick. And we will be back starting next Monday. Nope, that's not right. Next Wednesday. So, come and join us. And just enjoy our archives. Until then, they should keep playing just for y'all. And you know what? Be the change. If you don't like what you're seeing out there, just do it. That's what we have the abilities for. And it's a big deal. So be a friend that you would like to have. Be a spouse that you would like to have. Just be the you that you think is the best. And smile. If you're wearing a mask, I had to wear a mask today. Your eyes work too. Because people see you. They see your eyes. And thank you everybody for you're getting all kinds of kudos and chat.
Yay!
So we'll see you next time. Same cat chime, same cat channel. Thank y'all so much for being here. Have a great night. Have a great week. I'm going to miss y'all, but we'll catch up when we get back. So, thanks again. Good night.